Barry, you kind of brought up a topic, and we've kind of been going back and forth a little bit on it with, the thoughts on ASC and overlap. And I thought that was actually a really interesting perspective, just because, and I'm still trying to get some verification on it, but, when we were first introduced to it, our rep, it kind of expressed that, ASC was a whole brand new algorithm, and the idea of dumping all of your creatives into one and letting it
Hmm.
sort of suss out and create its own funnel, if you will, within a campaign.
Hmm.
And part of that was it was going to know and understand who was being served across the
Right.
ads in the account,
Yeah.
and thus limit overlap. Doing some research, obviously, on the AS, I guess the Advantage Plus apps
Hmm.
campaign,
Yeah.
it highly suggests only running one ASC
Yeah.
per country because there will be overlap. So now
Right.
I'm trying to confirm. So I think it's actually a really interesting take. Is there something that you've kind of been seeing in accounts like with it
Yeah.
that caused that, or
I mean, this is like Facebook ad principles, in my opinion. Like, I want to say 101, but this is really like 401. This is like, it's always been a problem. So if you go back in time and think about how you were advertising 3 years ago, you were probably on every prospecting ad you were running, ads that you were running, you were probably excluding uh, customers, 180-day visitors, or whatever visitors, engagers, excluding everything. And now ASC has no exclusions except for customers, right? If you want. So it's not just a function of ASC as like a new optimization type. It is a fundamental shift philosophically, theoretically, technically of how Facebook can and delivering ads to users. So like anyone who went from prospecting and excluding visitors before to not removing those exclusions until ASC is doing it, that's a problem, right? That's a philosophical problem of like, you weren't allowing Facebook to target your users again with the same ads, with the same campaigns. And now ASC is doing that. So fundamentally, ASC is doing that. It's reaching new users, and then it's also touching those same users who have been to your site, who have
right,
engaged with your other ads or those same ads. And now it's doing the prospecting and retargeting all in one. The reason why it gets complicated with overlap is the same reason it's always been complicated with prospecting and retargeting overlap, or prospecting campaign one versus prospecting campaign two with overlap. It's just that now it's a weirder, wild west of like, is ASC A versus ASC B delivering to new users or retargeting or like whatever. And if, depending on if you're using 7-day click or 1-day click, the way that it can deliver, it's just trying to get you as many conversions as you're asking it to.
right.
So it doesn't care if someone's seen an ad 1,000 times or one time. It doesn't care if the user's seen ads from other ad sets, other campaigns, other ACs or not. It's just trying to complete the task that you're giving it. So
I mean,
when you have,
isn't that the advertising structure, right? Just pummel the audience with your ads until they buy to get the ads to stop. Isn't
yeah, but we've all been, I mean,
yeah,
I'm assuming we all have been doing it much more rigidly with
yeah,
much more prospecting, like, you know, cold, warm, hot, or whatever you want to call it,
right.
uh, you know, with tactics of like, oh, we'll do, 30-day or 14-day or 7-day or 1 day or 180-day, like any of those things. And now we're giving that back up to Facebook, and we can't
Right,
see how or what it's doing.
right.
All we can see is that it is getting results.
Yeah, and I think, to your point, so I will say that we have a client who has um, subscription base, and we are kind of talking through that, how um, we've we've seen that people who are already on subscription, Facebook is not seeing that and still retargeting and serving those people who've already bought a subscription. Like in that, right? So they buy a subscription, and then within 20 days or so, they're getting those ads, and like they're just back into that mix of sorts. And so I do think there's some level where people are being reserved when maybe they shouldn't be reserved ads yet because they've completed a purchase, and Facebook is back to trying to get them to purchase again. But it's like,
it doesn't understand the context.
Right.
The system doesn't understand the context or care. Just to be clear.
Correct.
But if you're talking about ASC, you're talking about, is that because you have the 1% selected that you're not that you're allowing to be customers?
Yeah. So what we're trying to suss out right now is So we have a scenario where we're running primarily top funnel, 1% of the existing customer to be targeted because Facebook says they can't guarantee no one will be retargeted. And then we do have an ASC that has a higher level of specifically that we're understanding that it is a retargeting. But what we're catching now is that the subscription people are just falling back into that, and because Facebook doesn't have the context of these people technically don't need to be served because they're on a subscription.
Well, I would say, Max, actually go ahead, because Max and I were talking, and he has a thing where he has 0% and it's not delivered.
Yeah, I feel like maybe that's kind of it says this gets rid of germs 99.9% of the time. I feel like it's that situation where they can no longer guarantee 100% accuracy with exclusions just in a post iOS environment. That's my inclination there. We do have it at 0% for a couple of our brands. We do see at the breakdown that there's no spend going into the existing customer cohort structure. That's how we've been structuring it for the most part. But in terms of having existing subscribers receive your ad still, I definitely am experiencing that as well. I'm curious, for the group at large, with your CSV uploads, how are you guys going about that? Are you actually manually uploading that and seeing a higher match rate instead of using the Klaviyo integration, which historically has a lower match rate for whatever reason? How are you guys going about trying to be as robust as possible with exclusions?
I straight up just Klaviyo lists. I mean, I don't use CSV files anymore just because they die off so quick. I feel like I do have some all-time customer lists, but I mean, I don't even use that for ASC, to be honest. I have some traditional ABO campaigns where I have my traditional exclusions where it's just purchasers. I used to do a very did with site engagers and shit, but now it's just only purchasers. For ASC, I just let it do its thing. What I've noticed though is the frequency climbs up really quick, and I noticed CAC start, after maybe 10 days, and that's at around 4 or 5K a day in spend. It just CAC starts creeping up. So I saw Andrew mention it, but I just duplicate them and just kind of relaunch them, and it's kind of a never-ending bi-weekly cycle for the ASC side of things.
So do you not have any percentage going into the existing customer cohort?
Nothing.
And do you put it at 0, or you just don't even toggle it on? And you let the algorithm. Interesting. And then when you look at your breakdown, what is
have you looked at it? Have you looked at it?
Yeah. I was just gonna say
because frequency rates probably make sense.
Because the one thing Facebook does say, I just want to so Facebook says if you don't set a percentage, it's going to assume that it can target 100% of your existing audiences. So it just becomes a super retargeting. Yeah. And so it'd be interesting to see that breakdown.
Yeah. It's in there.
I'd be curious. I mean, our new customer CAC, based off the triple whale, it's pretty fire. I mean, we don't have any issues there. I only look at new customer CAC. I don't really give a fuck about blended CAC as much.
Yeah. Well, have you used the audience type breakdown in Facebook to see this?
Nope. I only look at the triple whale for that.
Well, you can.
Let's do it right now.
So just so you know,
super curious.
We're going to screen share.
I have another account where that I'm in, and I see that it's set at 0%. In the last 7 days, it has not listed any existing customers. 0.
That's awesome.
Is it a separate tab or is it breakdown?
Breakdowns, delivery, audience type.
Perfect.
And while we're bringing this up for the record, we are jamming now in the jam session. This is
100%.
Official jam session, right?
This is jams.
Official.
Yeah.
Only took us 24 minutes to get there, but we're officially, and it's over, guys. Sorry.
Yeah, mine just says unknown.
Oh, so you didn't even.
You haven't defined it. Yeah.
So you got to go to ad account settings. I have a tweet thread I'll send you.
Yeah, shoot it.
Barry does have a good tweet thread on that he broke it down. Yeah.
It's funny because we spent like probably $500K on this sucker so far, like the past.
I mean,
but it's fire, so it's worth
yeah.
it. Like,
yeah. There's what do you can you say what you're selling, because that might make sense.
From what
are you selling?
ED meds. So it's
based. I mean, like, people are rebuying it anyway. It's not that big of a deal for you to be sending ads to your existing customers.
It's a subscription based. We have one-time purchases, but I mean, subscription brings in a shitload. So I mean, I do have another account where I do have a 5% limit for like towels, so to speak, where it's a little bit different. But yeah, for this account, this is one of the bigger ASC spenders that has a weird. I have to update it a good amount versus some of the other accounts where I can kind of let them go a little bit more.
I'm running a little.
Definitely an interesting category. My agency, the people that manage it, we get probably once a week their Facebook account gets shut down and they have to make a new one just because of this ad account. I don't know if you've had that circumstance, but yeah, it's a pain in the ass. They're on their third profile now on Facebook.
I've done a lot in the ED space.
Yeah.
There's a brand called The Rocket, and it was a physical device, and it's like a shockwave therapy. It looks like a dildo, honestly.
Yeah.
And we went through, I think, 35 ad accounts, 12 pages, and then they just dissolved the business. But you know, we were killing it. It was like a $700 product. Our CAC was like $110 to $130. So I mean, it worked, but the product was just way too raunchy.
Yeah, that tracks. In terms of across the board, now that we're on ASC Plus, I actually want to get to Barry's point about auction overlap in terms of the structure across your ad accounts. I have always kind of ignored that, candidly. Still do. I just it's not something that's a big concern of mine. Any of you guys think that that's not the right way of thinking about things? I'll have certain ad accounts, Barry and I were actually walking through one of mine that has probably 30 ad sets. Most of them using broad targeting, plus 3 different ASC campaigns. And I've never been too concerned about that overlap, honestly.
I only have multiple ASCs when I have different bundles I'm promoting or different hero products, and I keep the creative super relevant to those. It is different messaging, different assets. But when it comes to the main brand, because a lot of the brands I have just have one solo product. I just have one fat ASC in there, a creative testing campaign, which is ABO. And I normally test 2 ads in there at the same time. And then just a traditional 30-day retargeting, and then an old school ABO with maybe a lookalike stack, broad in there, and then an interest stack. But it always leads into broad doing the best. So it takes 80% of the budget in that specific ABO campaign. And it's always low cap. I don't do any cost caps or anything. So.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think. Yeah, I think for us, we haven't been. Obviously, we layer in we still sort of, for our manual campaigns, we're still layering in some level of an exclusion, 180-day purchaser is pretty much our go-to. Maybe something on a visitor just to try and limit that. But we have accounts that have 3 ASCs in them. Clients have multiple products, so we're kind of doing product specific, and we're not so worried about the overlap in those, because the idea is we know similar customers are going to be buying. We kind of want to hit that warmer funnel with multiple products so that they know that there's a variety of things that they can get, and we see pretty solid success with that. We definitely have kind of the unicorn, there's a couple unicorn products that just sell much better and, kind of lead the way. And so we kind of use those to push more of our top funnel traffic. And then, some of those other categories were a little bit looser on, those percentage of existing customers. And we're just making sure that, everybody's getting hit with a few different ads. So in brands where, it's a more singular product, I think we've been running, almost all of our accounts at least have 2 to 3 ASCs on some level. And then we're doing probably diversifying with messaging more than diversifying creative types. We're kind of trying to keep the mix of creatives unless we've just seen a situation, right? Alex kind of chimed in on that thread and was kind of like, sort of gave the gentle FU to Facebook if you kind of read between the lines of like, I can't trust them to do this, I can't trust them to do that, so I continue to do these things and monitor it, which is true. On some level, we've seen ASCs where, sure, you'll see 1,000 impressions on like 8 of the creatives, and then it's like 40, 50, 60,000 impressions on like your DPA or a nice video reel that seems to be working, and it's getting all of that spend, right? And so it is frustrating when Facebook is kind of telling you this is the practice we want you to try with it, but then their old tactics are still coming through in those, right, and showing up. And so it's like, how do you advise and be like, so in those situations, we've typically kind of taken on the duplication method and are, then breaking out that creative a little bit. But, we haven't, to be honest, I mean, I agree, we haven't been as focused on overlap, but, Barry does bring up a good point of that maybe we should be back again.
Yeah.
Maybe, it's a maybe.
It's not like make it or break it. Like, don't hear me say like, if you have overlapping campaigns, you're an idiot. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, you're not doing anything wrong, right?
Yeah.
It's just that I think a lot of things are happening with that overlap that we can't know or see.
Yeah.
And it's causing performance. And I want to be clear, Shane, what you called out about like using different ASCs for different products, like I have no qualms with that. Like you kind of have to do that if you're doing different products with different, conversion rates, different, CPAs, anything like that. You have to separate them because otherwise it's just going to go after the easiest thing to sell. So that makes sense. But yeah, the overlap thing is just, it's really hard for the system doesn't understand or care that context that you have of why you would separate those ads. All the system knows is, hey, I can get more purchases from people that have already purchased before or have already been to site before. I've already taken this action on site. I've already watched my other ads from this page more. So it can know, okay, well, this user watched ads from this campaign. Maybe they'll convert from ads from this campaign. So that's the thing that I just have with overlap. It's like we're talking about like prospecting, or you're talking about like cold, but these users are not cold if they're an ASC, and we all need to get on board with that of they're like a weird gray, warm, cold, lukewarm, who knows.
So Barry, like one of the things that we do, right, and you called this out when we were talking, was we do include like the site visitor exclusion at the ad account setting. So we have
I hate that.
Well, what if you put it at 0%? But if you put it at 0%, then you're making it as incremental as possible.
No, but it's you're okay.
Assuming there's coverage in remarketing.
Fundamentally, Facebook built this tool to be set as, and I want to talk to whoever decided to do this and smack them over the head. I think
that's me.
Setting this feature at the account level for existing customers is so stupid for a few reasons. One, because people are doing what you're talking about. I don't know what guru recommended this, but I hate them. Facebook built this feature to be existing customers. It's called existing customers. You should only be uploading existing customers. And my belief is that it's using that to better understand who to target in terms of the same way you would with lookalikes, right? I think it is using that. I don't know if it is. I don't have evidence of that, but I think it is using those lists to figure out who to better target. So I don't think adding your visitors is a good thing. I think it's net negative. Even if you can use it to control that exclusion, I don't think it's worthwhile. And it goes against the entire point of how ASC works, which is to be able to target people repeatedly.
Well, even from a standpoint of improving signal, right? Like, I mean, you're potentially like if you're driving in low quality visitors, and then you're saying, these are the this is my customers. you're just feeding it back like that negative, that negative low quality. So you're never, I feel like there's just a churn that's going to happen in there as well.
I got something interesting for y'all. Now, I'm on Barry's page here. The ASC totally hits a lot of warm buckets. There's no way it's cold like all the way through. So I'm on that page. But yeah, I got a juicy one for you. So I have a couple accounts in that 500 to 700K a month range, and we're dealing with this crazy frequency issues. So obviously, I want the cash flow the quickest, so conversion all day, every day, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But is there a point where I'm about to start getting some video views and engagement campaigns in the mix with maybe 5 to 10% of the overall budget to kind of feed the beast, so to speak?
All right.
Y'all,
I got you. Yeah. I have you going. I got you. First of all, what's your what attribution setting you're using for that ASC?
7-day click.
Okay, good. So the thing that I'm playing with, I'm still kicking around, and like I actually don't want to. I don't like talking to people about this because this might be my secret sauce. But like the thing I think about a lot is like ASC is great. However, like you said, ASC might not be bringing in net new incremental users as much as some other stuff I'm doing. Especially, by the way, the thing I didn't say earlier is like this ASC non-exclusion whole thing. The performance kind of shifts over time, and it's very possible that what just happens for everyone is they launch ASC, it crushes for a couple weeks, as it should, because it's going after people that you haven't been going after potentially, or it's going after people in a way that you never would have before, so it's doing a little bit better. But as businesses scale, I'm not sure ASC is the best tool, and I want to note this. Technically, if you're a big business, massive business that's spending a lot of money elsewhere and has a lot of traffic sources, if you're not spending enough on Facebook, on the ASC, all Facebook is going to do is go after your already warm customers, because there's enough of them that it just needs to get those conversions as easy as it can, as cheap as it can, because that's what you're asking it to do. So again, the bigger your business is, whether that's on Facebook alone or elsewhere, the more that you kind of need to spend on those things to get more incremental users. And then on top of that, the secret sauce that I wanted to talk about is I'm suggesting that you test your creative and run that excluding your recent visitors. You can define recent visitors as 180 day if you want. I think that's a bit much. I think 6 months is a really long amount of time for someone to have not seen an ad, been to your site. But like whatever you want to be, that's how I delineate between my ASC and my testing, is that like 14 day or 30 day or 7 day visitor exclusion and maybe engager exclusion, just to be like, all right, you know what I'm running right now in ASC isn't what worked for these people. They didn't engage, they didn't click. Let's test with the new stuff. There's some other implications there, but that's kind of what I think, and that would force some fresher blood to be brought into your site. So Dylan, does that help?
It does, yeah, and I can totally. I'm a big ABO guy. I like the old school way a lot, especially with this kind of brand, because I think you're spot on. Because I've even done lower optimization windows. It's not the traditional e-commerce model, so it's like register and purchase. So I mean, I just have purchase optimization, then register. And granted, they're all flip-flop from result-wise, but I do notice it kind of taps into this complete different buckets than the purchase does. So that was one angle I was doing for quite a while, but we're just getting at the scale where even with that, our frequency is getting crazy across the entire account. So I'm like, I feel like I need to do this, sadly, some world bottom of funnel shit. Or I mean, top of funnel, like the super cheap video views, super cheap traffic. Because I would say Facebook's probably 70% of all the revenue coming in. And we do have some fun organic stuff, PR deals, but it's not enough volume there to where Facebook is that beast still. And it works with our current system. I just know once we get some more cash, and we kind of ramp up even more, I'm going to have to start diversifying. So we have badass commercials. They'll be different than our normal conversion shit. So I'm just trying to figure out if that is a solid plan, because I know it's going to be a longer, 30 or 60 day to kind of really see if it's actually working. But just kind of seeing what's out there, because I've been noticing it for a while where I'm like, we're some changes soon.